Okay, so the next paragraph is paragraph 8, professional fee. This is your agent's commission. So a professional fee as per addendum A, you'll notice on addendum A there's a total breakdown on the commission fee, so that your seller can see exactly what the commission breakdown is, the VAT and so on. So the commission then shall be paid to Parkland Real Estate and then also the agent. So you will receive your commission directly to your bank account from the conveyancing attorneys. So there you must specify either a percentage on the sales price or a specific amount on the sales price. So you can, for instance, say there 5 or 6% commission plus VAT, or 100,000 or 50,000, depending on what the value of the property is. And then obviously you must also write out the amount of commission. If you do say 100,000 Rand commission, you write out in the block provided 100,000 Rand as commission. So the professional fee shall be deemed to have been earned upon conclusion of the sale and, if applicable, the waiver or fulfillment of any suspensive conditions. Payment of the professional fee shall be made no later than on or before the registration of transfer. So if it's before the registration of transfer, then you should obtain the sellers and buyers permission to do so, so that you can earn your commission. Otherwise, 90% of the time or 99% of the time, you will be paid your commission upon registration of the transaction. Okay, so if the sale is cancelled through a breach of contract on the purchaser's part or by mutual consent, then the agent shall be entitled but not obligated to claim such professional fee from the purchaser, in which case such claim will not be dependent upon transfer of the property. So that means that if the purchaser does cancel the agreement or there's a breach of the contract, then obviously you can sue them through the conveyancing attorneys for such commission amount. All right, so if you go further down to paragraph 8.2, should the purchaser commit any breach of the terms of conditions of the sale, the purchaser shall be liable to pay Parkland Real Estate the professional fee as set out in clause 8. The professional fee shall be payable on demand being made to the purchaser by Parkland Real Estate, and the provision of this clause is applicable to the seller, mutatis mutandis. So once the necessary changes have been made. So this clause just also means that in that breakdown of the agreement, there's a certain amount or percentage that goes to Parkland Real Estate, and then there's a certain amount of commission that goes to you as the agent. So obviously both parties, the agency and the agent, can then sue either the purchaser or even the seller if there is a breach of contract for the commission amount. Then the conveyancer is duly and irrevocably instructed to keep the agent covered for the professional fee in terms of clause 8. Okay, so if we move down to paragraph or clause 9, breach. So in the event of the purchaser committing any breach of the terms and condition of the sale, the seller shall be obliged to give the purchaser written notice by way of facsimile or email with proof of successful transmission, or by way of prepaid registered post or hand delivered at its domicilium address, calling upon him to remedy such default, and in the event of the purchaser failing to comply within a period of 7 days from date of receipt of such notification, the seller shall have the right to either do one of the following: to cancel this sale agreement and then claim damages, or to sue for specific performance in terms of this agreement, to basically force the buyer to comply with this agreement and go ahead with the transaction, or to cancel this sale and retain the deposit paid in terms of clause 4.1 above after deduction of the agent's professional fee as rouwkoop or pre-estimated damages, or to exercise any other legal right that they may have. So it means that should the purchaser then breach this agreement the seller may have one of these options and continue with those options. Then clause 9.2, the purchaser will be deemed to have received the notice referred to in clause 11 within 5 days of posting by prepaid registered post or within 48 hours of date of successful transmission of facsimilar or email or on the date of delivery, as the case may be. Any party giving notice in terms of clause 8 shall be obliged to furnish a copy of the said notice to Parkland Real Estate by way of registered mail or by email. Then we can go down further to 9.3, and this is now in the event if the seller commits a breach. So in the event of the seller committing any breach of the terms and conditions of the agreement, then the purchaser shall also have the right to give the seller notice. The same will then apply as above, but vice versa if the seller then commits the breach in terms of this contract. So then we go down to page 11, clause 10, legal person. So this just means that should the purchaser act on behalf of a legal person to be established, such legal person must be established within 30 working days of the signature of this contract. Failing this, the purchaser will be considered to have signed this agreement in his personal capacity. This just means that should the purchaser sign as, say, Jane Doe, but they actually want to purchase this property in a company's name or in the name of a trust, then they must go and open up that company or the trust within the next 30 days and provide proof of such documentation and that the company or trust has been registered. And then they can sign this agreement on behalf of such company. If they fail to provide such documentation and proof of registration within 30 days, then this contractual agreement, the offer to purchase, would have then been signed in their own personal name. Okay, then clause 11, notice. The parties hereby choose domicilium citandi et executandi for the delivery of all notices and processes arising herefrom at the aforementioned address within the Republic of South Africa. This just means the addresses that they give in this purchase agreement is the addresses where all notices will be sent to and received by either the buyer or seller. Then if we go further down to clause 12, jurisdiction. So for the purposes of all proceedings herein, the parties hereby consent to the jurisdiction of the magistrate court, otherwise having jurisdictions under section 28 of the Act pursuant to section 45 of the Magistrate Courts Act of 1944 as amended. However, an aggrieved party may at his or her sole option institute proceedings in any other competent court which has jurisdiction. So it depends where you are situated in South Africa. So should this contract be signed in whatever magistrate's area, that specific magistrate's court and area will have jurisdiction over this agreement. Then clause 13, transfer. The transfer shall be effected by the seller's conveyancers being. So here you specify the conveyancing attorneys who is going to deal with this transaction. So you fill in there the firm's name, the contact person that you work with, the contact number and the email address, so that the agreement can be emailed to them and all parties notified who the conveyancing attorneys are. Then clause 13.2, the purchaser shall forthwith on demand sign all transfer documents and pay these transfer costs, transfer duty that may be applicable, stamps and all charges, etc. And this is a material term of this agreement. Both parties shall sign and or submit any documents within 5 working days after being requested to do so by the conveyancers. So either orally or in writing if they make the request. This is again just to speed up the process. Either the seller or the buyer or even the estate agent, the property practitioner, must then forward all requested documents to the attorney's offices within 5 working days after being requested to do so. You do not want a transaction to linger because of documents that's outstanding or still required. So that will obviously then prolong the registration process. Then 13.3 just says important notice to the conveyancing attorneys to always make sure that they copy in a specific email address. In this case, it's info@realestateservices.co.za and also info@parkland.co.za. If we go further down to page 12, FICA, this just means that we do require all FICA documentation from the sellers and the buyers. This is very, very important. The FIC Centre is busy clamping down on all estate agencies and attorney firms, conveyancing attorneys, because of outstanding FICA and FICA that's not submitted with the transactions. And then also the FICA questionnaires, which is an important part of this document as well. So FICA is very, very important. Personally, at Parkland Real Estate, I am not going to accept any OTP if the FICA documents have not been received, say, within at least 72 hours after the offer to purchase has been received. So if the FICA is outstanding and the transaction is now at the deeds office and it's going to be lodged soon, and the FICA is still outstanding, I will then instruct the conveyancing attorneys to not make any commission payments to such agent until all FICA has been received. So FICA is an absolutely important, vital part of the offer to purchase document. And my tip would be, as soon as the offer to purchase is signed, once the buyer wants to sign the OTP, tell them it's fine. You will meet them somewhere, whether it's your own offices, whether it's at a coffee shop, or whether it's at their own private residential address. You will meet them there, but upon signature of the OTP, they must also have all their FICA documents ready, and then provide them with the list of FICA documents that you do require from them, so that they can give you the FICA together with the signed OTP document. Then you do not have to go and scramble afterwards to try and find FICA from your buyers or sellers, because it's now almost on registration. Once that property registers, you will not be able to get FICA from those clients. So always make sure. And as I said, from my part, I will then instruct the attorneys not to proceed with the lodgement at the deeds office, and also not to pay out the commission should they proceed with the registration, because FICA is outstanding. So FICA is very, very important. I will also do a separate session with regards to FICA and also the FIC Centre and what the current or new requirements are in terms of the FICA legislation.